Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the High School Blitz, brought to you by the American-Statesman. I'm joined by Thomas Jones. Thomas, another big weekend of football in the books. And tell me, let's start from the beginning. Who do you give your game ball to?
I mean, to me, it's easy. Trevor Greenman, the quarterback for Dripping Springs, had another outstanding game. Threw for 7 touchdowns, accounted for 460 yards of offense in a win over Bernie Champion. Now, why is that especially important? Drip had never before beaten Champion, and Drip is still undefeated and leading that district. A big performance by Greenman.
I'm going to go with Joe Sandifer from Thrall. He's the wide receiver and defensive back. Big win, 50-18 over Normandy. And anyway, 6 catches, 141 yards, 3 touchdowns. On defense, 18 tackles. So he does it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he was all-state defensive back last season.
And they've only lost 1 game this year.
Tigers are good.
Tell me, Thomas, what did you learn from this past weekend?
You know, it was, we're at that point in the season where our playoff teams are starting to peak.
Yes.
And some of these other teams, you know, they maybe have injuries, but things just aren't clicking for them. And you're starting to see that in some of the results. Lake Travis won 56-0. McCallum won 55-0. Vandergrift won 42-0. Hayes 43-0. Rouse 47-0. These are all district games. Some teams are peaking, looking at the postseason. I think some teams are just kind of seeing that end of the year is coming up.
What did I learn? I learned that there's a value, a big-time value, if a football team has a second-team quarterback who can throw the football and who has talent. It happened last year when I saw Lake Travis play, and Charlie Brewer got hurt. They threw in Matt Baldwin, and all of a sudden he looked just as good as Charlie. The other day, Cedar Park, Max Sexton breaks his leg in the first quarter of their game against Georgetown. In comes Ryan Fiala, 2 touchdown passes, 1 late in the game. They came from 27-7 down to win at 28-27. Backup quarterbacks, Trinidad Sanders, by the way, I should have mentioned him as another backup quarterback from Bowie who's done exceptionally well. So if you have a backup quarterback, just like the pros and in college, in high school it means the same thing. It means your season is not lost.
You know, the good teams always say next man up, and they're proving their point, like Cedar Park did Friday.
Let me ask you, Thomas, of all the unbeaten teams that remained in Central Texas, which one surprises you the most?
You know, I thought Hutto would be really good, but to be unbeaten, you know, they beat a very good Bryan team in the season opener, and then they went to Georgetown and got a big road win. So the fact that Hutto is unbeaten is very impressive, especially in that district. And this is the first time since 1966 that Hutto has been unbeaten. Well, they've never had a perfect regular season before since 1966. Now, ironically, there's another unbeaten team in the area whose last perfect regular season was also in 1966, and that's our McCallum Knights. So both McCallum and Hutto really surprising.
I want to see that Hutto Cedar Park game in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Regents, and Regents doesn't sound like a surprise team because it seems like Regents is good every year. But when you lose 9 players from the offensive side of the football, you don't expect to just come back and reload and be just as good. But they have reloaded. They're just as good. They had their biggest win of the year against San Antonio Holy Cross, a 21-0 shutout. So their defense is carrying the load too. So hats off to Regents for that, and Hutto too. Yep. That'll do us for another edition of the High School Blitz, brought to you by the American-Statesman. Stay with us later in the week where we preview this week's game. And until then, for Thomas, for myself, we hope your favorite team wins.